Know this about sleep difficulties. Today I'm talking about the problem of waking up in the middle of the night. I've been a clinical psychologist for 8 years, and this is what I know. Some of my clients report no problems falling asleep in the night, but instead they complain about waking up in the middle of the night. I think many of us have tried to wake up in the middle of the night, and people with those sleep apps find out that they might be awake a couple of times a night without paying attention to it or remembering it the next morning. Waking up for a short time, turning over, or maybe going to the toilet and then quickly falling back to sleep is not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is the problem of waking up in the middle of the night. It's what my clients often describe as waking up out of the blue and feeling instant dread. For some, the problem is a little bit different, and their description is that they don't wake up instantly in fear, but that it rather builds up when they lie and think. Both waking up in instant dread and waking up and worrying yourself into dread are problems within waking up in the middle of the night. Both can be a cause of great distress and suffering to my clients. They, as my other clients, come to me to know what's wrong with them and why they wake up in the middle of the night and what to do about it. The answer to the two first questions can be found in looking into what might be causing this. The last question of what to do often relates to the answer of the first two questions, and they might have to do less and not more of what they're doing in order to create the problem in the first place. First, I want to address the waking up and feeling scared instantly. Waking up in the middle of the night in a panic is not normal. Well, if we look at the statistics of how many people are stressed out, then we might say that it's quite frequent. But it's not a sign of mental health or a stable mind, and I would be okay to say that it's a problem that needs work. But how to work on it? Let me take you through how I would typically approach the problem. First, we need to understand what is creating the problem. That is, to help the client see that they're not broken or faulty, to help them feel less frustrated and worried. We also want to let them know that there are some things that can be changed in order to give them hope that they'll be able to rid themselves of the problem. Less worried and hopeful is most often the goal of the first part of therapy. In my experience, waking up in the middle of the night in fear or terror is a classic sign of stress. This is similar to when people have panic attacks during the day. This can be compared to a panic attack in the night. Did you out of the blue feel terrified in your body and you have no clue why? I'll therefore ask the client about other stress symptoms and if they're likely to be experiencing a lot of stress currently. If you're under a lot of stress or you're stressing too much overall, you'll likely get some stress symptoms after a while. Waking up in panic is, from what I know, a symptom of stress, and I'll therefore have a talk with my client about their current stressful factors in their life. Knowing what's going on with them, of course, doesn't solve the problem, as it takes more, but it's helpful to know what's going on and that we're not broken and that what we're experiencing is not alien or inexplicable. Knowing what's going on with us when we're hit with something massive as a panic attack or nighttime terror is more helpful than not knowing. When we know what's going on, then we're less likely to start spiraling and try to analyze what's wrong. Spiraling and analyzing over a problem will often take the shape of worrying, which in itself can cause feelings of fear, inadequacy, and helplessness. So the first step we take is to know what's going on. This can make it so that you don't make it worse by lying and worrying when it happens. Sometimes the work stops here. This is when the client is very much aware that they're under stressful circumstances and that these circumstances have a clear end date which is soon coming up. Sometimes we expose ourselves to stressful circumstances or don't remove ourselves from them on purpose due to a clear and meaningful goal. A good example is when finishing a deadline or overworking due to a great game. Sometimes we find that it's worth it to stress ourselves out. As a psychologist, I don't have a problem with that. It's not dangerous to have stress symptoms as such, and it's okay to have shorter periods sometimes where we pressure ourselves a lot. Under these circumstances, it's still important to know what stress symptoms are and what is to be expected. When we're done with stressing ourselves out for that short period of time we decided to do so, we'll see that the stress symptoms will disappear. Knowing what's happening when we're feeling something uncomfortable or out of the norm can help us to not further panic about it and make us feel safe enough to try and ignore it as much as possible. I often compare this to what we do when we're sick or have a hangover. We know why we're feeling how we're feeling and that it will pass. In other cases, my work with the client continues. This is for the clients who are not in a specific, stressful and short-lasted circumstance. For these clients, it's relevant with stress management in order to reduce their symptoms. Stress management can both consist of looking at what are the external and internal factors causing the individual to be stressed out. And I'll support the client through getting knowledge on and working on these in order to reduce their stress and thereby get rid of the nighttime symptom. When the client is no longer stressed out, the waking up in dread out of the blue usually disappears and they return to normal sleep. The next part is about the clients who are waking up and worrying themselves into dread. In my clinic, I see this more frequently with my clients than the problem of waking up in the night with instant dread. With clients who wake up in the night and start to worry and after a little while feel very scared, I use an approach that's not much different than how I initially approach most other problems. Here again, it's my goal to answer the client's questions of what's wrong with them, why they wake up in the middle of the night, and what to do about it. To help the client, I'll take them back to the definition of a problem, because as we discussed in the beginning of the video, waking up in the middle of the night is not a problem in itself. Most people will wake up one or more times per night without taking much notice. This, most would agree, is not a problem as it's not causing distress. And because we mostly fall asleep again shortly after, it also doesn't cause significant sleep or energy disturbances. I'll talk with the client about that waking up in itself is not necessarily the problem that we should turn to. For some, I'll also explain them that it's a normal part of being human to wake up in the night. That it happens for most of us, and we just go back to sleep after a little while. I'll proceed to talk to them about what can turn this into a problem is when we, during the time we're awake, start worrying and end up feeling distressed. So it's not that we wake up that's the problem, but instead what we engage in when we wake up. Most would find it logical that it would cause us to not fall back to sleep if we, when we woke up, would drink an extra large energy drink and listen to loud music. But fewer make the connection between lying and thinking and it having the same effect. I'll outline to the client what happens when we worry or think about things we're supposed to do in the future or ruminate on our past failures. That when we're speculating, we often end up switching our body on and turn on emotional states. That worrying and resting are opposites. And that when we engage in worrying in the night, we're letting our body know that it's time to wake up and be alert, and worrying often puts us into physiological danger mode or threat state. Often, the problem of waking up and worrying in the night is also connected to spending a lot of time worrying during daytime. The client now becomes aware that it's not because there's something odd going on or something to fear, but that they should look into what they're doing if they want to get rid of the problem. Some of my clients will take this message and run with it and will be able to change it on their own. Others will partake in some more therapy with regards to working on reduction of worrying and overthinking. If you want to know more about daytime worrying or ruminations, then check out one of my future videos. I think this is all we had time for. What was your takeaway from today's video? As always, feel free to take away the information you can use, if any, and leave the rest. Hopefully, you found that today's topic made sense and I didn't waste your time. Please subscribe or like this video so my channel can grow. Take care and see you for the next one.